All right, so I need to be upfront with you and let you know this was my first time ever using a cheesecloth, let alone trying to smash avocado through it. Now, I might be jumping into conclusions, but I'm just gonna take a wild guess and say many of you that are watching this video have never cooked up for your hair. So my guy Drew came through the shop recently. I haven't seen him since September 2024. I already suspected we were gonna run into some happy challenges. Now, everybody with long hair knows when you go and get your hair done by your loctician, your beautician, your barber, well, maybe not your barber, that's not common, right? But at some point in the service, you're gonna talk to who's doing your hair. And he caught me up to that DIY he did that ended up causing this buildup. But let's talk about the buildup. When I'm talking about buildup, I'm not talking about a little bit of product clumping at the base or something like that. I'm literally talking about breakfast smoothie levels of buildup. It was thick, it was dry, and I already knew just looking at it, bro, like this ain't no hard gel or beeswax or anything like that. This is something homegrown, homemade. And sure enough, egg, aloe leaf, avocado, honey, essential oils. This man brought out the whole kitchen. But I'll tell you what he didn't bring. He didn't bring the blender. He didn't bring the cheesecloth. He didn't bring the proper exit strategy here. But here's the thing, guys. I'm actually not against DIYs. But if you have locks, you have to DIY for your locks. Because if that stuff that you're mixing together in that bowl dries up in your hair, guess what? It's no longer a mask. It's insulation. So because I don't want any insulation up in my locks, I'm going to go ahead, take that ingredients list, and guess what we're going to do today, guys? We're gonna do a DIY. Let's talk about this mask. You see, up front, you might think this is some kitchen therapy hype, but let me tell you something. The effort that it took for me to make this mix literally lets you know that it's engineered for these freaking locks. First off, we got aloe vera. Now this right here, this is gonna soothe in your scalp, add hydration, and even help the product glide smoothly into your roots without creating any of that buildup, okay? Now this is a major key because anything too thick or too chunky is gonna stick to your locks like glue. You don't want that, okay? Now afterwards, I brought 2 avocados out and they're packed with fatty acids, vitamin E, and antioxidants. It softens up the hair, but more importantly, it improves the elasticity so your locks don't feel dry and brittle every time you touch them. Then we got to bring out that egg. Yeah, I said it. You don't got to get that protein treatment from the beauty store. You get it from the grocery store. Just enough to reinforce those little weak areas without making them stiff or crunchy, which by the way sounds very similar to what happened to Drew. Second to last is honey, the humectant MVP. And what this is going to do is basically draw moisture into the hair shaft. That's why your hair feels softer and more flexible afterwards. Finally, we have argan oil. It's lightweight and very helpful with sealing everything in without leaving any residue. It locks in the moisture without weighing your hair down. It's basically the perfect finisher. I don't know about y'all, but it seems to me like we DIY ready. This thing right here seems to be built to hydrate, protect, and rinse out easily. I don't want to mess with no chunks, no crust, no regrets. Now, I don't want to leave out the detail of how nice and smooth this mask felt. It didn't feel like lotion. It didn't feel like shea butter, but it was lighter and fluffier. Let me tell you something. The best part about this is how easily my locks absorbed every drop of this mask. Even the lightest of presses on the lock will release everything right back out. That's how light this stuff is. At this point, I'm ready to share this information with my guy Drew, because this mix right here, we got a banger in our hands. There was not 1 inch of my locks that was not covered in this stuff. So afterwards, I got a cap and I made sure that my hair was covered for about 20 minutes just to make sure that the product worked its magic. Now, when it comes to rinse time, I don't play, guys. We got to get ready for this. We got to do it correctly. So what do you do to do it correctly? You bring out the stepping stool. Hopefully you have a shower head that can make it all the way there to you. But the whole idea here is to be relaxed, because if you're not relaxed, you won't be able to properly rinse your locks out. But this only happens when you run into one thing and one thing only, and that is stress. When you're stressing in the middle of the shower, standing up, thinking about all these other things you got to do, trust me, you're gonna miss the spot that holds the most product, and that could be anywhere. So you want to be patient. I don't just rinse here, guys. I section and then I squeeze, because locks aren't like curls, they're more like sponges. So you got to make sure that you press that product out like it owes you money. Rinse everything out. At one point, my tub was holding a nice shade of green for like 6 to 7 minutes. You know, it's just a good indicator that things are going well. Before I stepped out, I made sure to do a squeeze test. I checked the base, the mid, the ends, everything. I don't know if you can notice how clean the locks are looking. No green, no nothing is left on these locks. Now my locks, they felt softer, lighter, shinier. I asked Avocado to check, my daughter to check. Nobody found anything. Now, when it comes to the scent, it was a very faint but clean herbal smell. It felt like moisture, not product, and to me that was a win. So yeah, Drew's situation was definitely a wake-up call, not just for him but for me too. I want y'all to really keep this in mind. When you do DIYs, it's not just about ingredients, it's about the intention, the prep, and how well you rinse afterwards. We can absolutely mark this DIY as successful. This time around, this DIY worked. No chunks, no gunks, no regrets.